Imagine a hospital corridor, echoing with desperate footsteps, a woman's anguished cries filling the sterile air. Her name is Emily Carter, a once glowing mother-to-be on the brink of giving birth. But tonight, her husband, the wealthy and seemingly untouchable Michael Davis, is nowhere to be found. In his place stands a mysterious woman whose very presence threatens to unravel everything Emily thought she knew about her marriage. This is the haunting story of betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption, where masks fall away and true intentions are revealed, one painful heartbeat at a time. Brace yourself for a tale that proves money can't buy loyalty or love. Emily Carter was the epitome of grace, even before she married Michael Davis, a millionaire businessman known for his ruthless yet successful expansion of Davis enterprises across North America. Emily possessed an elegance that could not be manufactured. Raised in a small town called Harmony Creek, she was the pride and joy of her parents, Sarah and John Miller. From a young age, she displayed an uncanny ability to see the good in people, a quality that shone through her warm brown eyes. Michael, on the other hand, was the picture of modern success, a tall, confident man with sharp features and impeccably tailored suits. His father, William Davis Sr., had left him an almost flawless blueprint for business success. But Michael enhanced it, building a remarkable business empire that spanned multiple industries, from real estate to high-tech startups. When they first met at a charity ball in Manhattan, Emily was volunteering as an organizer for the Miller Foundation, a small philanthropic group started by her Aunt Carol Peterson. She was handing out brochures while simultaneously ensuring the event ran smoothly. Michael was intrigued by her serene efficiency. He introduced himself politely, and though he received countless flirtatious smiles from socialites that evening, the only moment that truly lingered in his memory was when Emily hesitated before taking his hand. Her demure smile was as genuine as it was cautious, and it was in that precise moment that Michael decided he had to know more about her. Over the ensuing months, the two dated discreetly. Emily, not one to be easily dazzled by wealth, found herself slowly charmed by Michael's seemingly genuine devotion to her charitable causes. He donated significant sums to Harmony Creek's public library and even purchased new instruments for the local school band she once played in. At the time, she believed these gestures were signs of an empathetic heart. Little did she know that behind every act of generosity, Michael kept an unspoken tally. When they married in an extravagant ceremony in Napa Valley, the local newspapers raved about the fairy tale wedding of the Davis prince and the Miller princess. Emily's wedding gown, a simple yet stunning dress designed by an up-and-coming friend, Jessica Lee, contrasted with the lavish environment. Michael made sure every detail of that day screamed opulence, from the 1,000 white roses at the altar to the caviar-laden reception. But for Emily, the wedding's highlight was the laughter of her parents and the heartfelt speech given by her beloved Aunt Carol, who had helped raise her. She thought life could not get any better. The first 2 years of marriage glided by smoothly. They traveled to Europe, Asia, and parts of Africa. Emily wanted to see the world beyond lavish hotels, often opting to visit children's shelters in remote villages. Michael obliged her in the beginning, occasionally rolling his eyes, but rarely refusing. For a time, they seemed like a philanthropic power couple, with Emily championing charitable endeavors and Michael funding them. It was in the 3rd year of marriage that Emily discovered she was pregnant. Overjoyed, she imagined a future in which her child would grow up in a home filled with warmth, guided by the same moral compass she treasured so deeply. Michael's reaction was one of subdued excitement. He kissed her softly on the forehead and mentioned that, finally, the Davis name would have an heir. Looking back, Emily noticed a fleeting shadow in his eyes that night, something akin to reluctant acceptance rather than unbridled joy. She dismissed her unease, attributing it to the stress of balancing pregnancy with her blossoming charitable work. She believed Michael loved her, and that love would carry them both through any challenges, no matter how unexpected or severe. That was the Emily from Harmony Creek, the girl with a heart big enough for the world. That same heart, however, was about to be tested in ways she could never have imagined. 2 months into her pregnancy, Emily began experiencing severe morning sickness. She frequently felt dizzy, often needing to lie down for hours. She visited Dr. Linda Evans at Harmony Creek Medical Center, who advised her to maintain a diet rich in nutrients and to avoid stress whenever possible. Stress is the worst thing you can introduce to a pregnancy right now, Dr. Evans warned softly, scanning Emily's medical charts. You need rest. Emily, your body is telling you to slow down. Michael's business life, however, was ramping up. Profits soared, and with them came an increase in trips, late-night meetings, and urgent phone calls that required him to dash out of their bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, where once he would comfort Emily, gently rubbing her back and holding her hand through her bouts of nausea. Now he seemed distant, and then there was her first glimpse of doubt. One late evening, when Michael returned from a business meeting with a faint trace of a floral perfume that Emily did not recognize, she jokingly asked him if he had visited a flower shop. He laughed it off, planting a quick kiss on her cheek. "You worry too much," he said, brushing off any further queries with a gentle wave of his hand. The next morning, while sorting through the laundry, Emily discovered a lipstick smudge on Michael's collar. It was a shade of burgundy, quite different from the rose pink she herself occasionally wore. Her heart pounded in her chest. She asked him about it that evening. His answer was swift, a crisp denial. "I have no idea where that came from. The meeting was at the Redwood City Board. I was around men in suits, not women with lipstick." He tossed the shirt into the laundry bin, ignoring Emily's concerned gaze. In that moment, she couldn't tell what frightened her more, the possibility that he was lying, or the calm ease with which he dismissed her concerns. Emily wanted to believe him, to trust that her husband wouldn't betray her. After all, they had pledged their lives to each other. She convinced herself that the lipstick smudge was a random accident, a brush against someone's face in a crowded corridor, or perhaps an unfortunate stain from an earlier meeting. She wanted to preserve her peace of mind, especially now that she carried their child. Yet, the seed of suspicion was planted. Over the next few weeks, Michael's behavior became more erratic. He would shower the moment he arrived home, sometimes rushing past Emily without so much as a greeting. He insisted on separate finances, a strange request given their shared marriage. He told Emily he wanted to protect her from the complexities of the business world, but she couldn't help feeling he was building walls where there used to be bridges. A chance meeting with her close friend, Olivia Chun, heightened Emily's concerns. Olivia worked in marketing for one of Michael's companies. At an office party, she had seen Michael engrossed in a private conversation with a striking woman named Tiffany Hayes. According to Olivia, Tiffany was an up-and-coming event coordinator who had secured multiple contracts with Davis Enterprises. Olivia's tone had been hesitant, clearly worried about fueling rumors. But Emily's heart sank at the mention of Tiffany's name. And so, as her belly grew, so did her reservations about Michael's loyalty. On some nights, Emily lay awake, one hand on her abdomen, feeling the baby's gentle kicks, reminders of the life she was fighting to protect. She wondered if her child would have both parents' unwavering love, or if she would be forced to navigate motherhood alone. She prayed that her fears were unfounded, that Michael was still the man she fell in love with. Little did she know that fate was about to reveal truths far crueler than her imagination could conjure. By the time Emily was 7 months pregnant, she had endured weeks of lonely dinners, unanswered phone calls, and vague text messages from Michael. He was traveling more than ever, citing big expansion deals in Chicago and Los Angeles. Though Emily wanted to trust him, she felt an ever-growing distance, the kind that made her cry softly into her pillow whenever she thought about the future. One stormy evening, while Michael was supposedly in Chicago, Emily received a frantic call from Olivia. She could barely make out her friend's words through the crackle of static, something about Tiffany. Michael, a restaurant in Midtown. Despite Olivia's incoherence, Emily felt her blood run cold. She remembered that Michael had specifically told her he'd be gone for 3 days. Yet there was a possibility he was still in town, enjoying a cozy dinner with someone else. Weighed down by panic, Emily told Olivia she couldn't go out in the storm. She was heavily pregnant and feeling ill that evening. But Olivia insisted, urging Emily to see the truth for herself. Torn between the safety of her unborn child and the gnawing desperation to know what her husband was doing, Emily made a fateful decision. She grabbed her coat and an umbrella, called a taxi, and headed for Midtown. Rain lashed the car windows as the taxi sped along the slick roads. Emily's heart pounded relentlessly as the vehicle drew closer to the address Olivia had given her. She recalled the early days of their love story. She pictured Michael's warm smile, the gentle way he used to tuck a stray strand of her hair behind her ear. Was all of that just an illusion? The taxi stopped in front of an upscale restaurant. Through the glass walls, she saw Michael seated at a dimly lit corner table. Opposite him sat a stunning woman with cascading raven hair, Tiffany Hayes. In that moment, any doubt Emily might have clung to evaporated. The two were laughing in a manner far too intimate to be just colleagues. Tiffany reached out and placed her hand gently over Michael's. He did not pull away. Emily remained frozen in the rain for a few seconds, her body trembling with shock. A part of her wanted to march into the restaurant, confront him, scream at him, demand an explanation. But then the baby kicked, a visceral reminder of her delicate state. She realized with a bolt of clarity that her well-being, and that of her child, took precedence over the tempest of anger surging within her. She retreated to the taxi, tears mingling with the downpour. That night, she experienced her first panic attack, gasping for air as the taxi sped back to the Davis mansion. The driver, alarmed, offered to take her straight to the hospital, but Emily insisted she would be okay. A part of her was still in denial, clinging to the last shreds of hope that there was some explanation for Michael's behavior other than betrayal. Over the next week, Emily's world fell hollow. She avoided Michael's calls, ignoring his messages about unexpected flight delays and impossible meetings. She spent her days in bed or at DR, Evans's office, checking on the baby. She said little to her parents, not wanting them to worry, and she asked Aunt Carol for quiet support, refusing to share the specifics. She felt alone, terribly, irrevocably alone. But the worst revelation was yet to come. A few days later, while rummaging through the desk in Michael's home office for some insurance papers. Emily stumbled upon a receipt for a lavish diamond bracelet purchased at a boutique known for custom engravings. The receipt was dated the same day Michael claimed to be in Chicago. At the bottom of the receipt, in neat script, was a note, engraved with, "To Tiffany, forever yours." Emily's entire body went numb. Here was undeniable proof of Michael's affair solid, objective, and crushing. All illusions crumbled as she sank to the floor, clutching the receipt. Her marriage was a lie. Everything she believed about their partnership, their life together, their future, was tainted, and she was 8 months pregnant. The timing couldn't have been worse. 2 weeks after discovering the engraved bracelet receipt, Emily went into premature labor. She had been alone in the mansion's library, attempting to distract herself with a novel, when a sudden, sharp pain seized her lower abdomen. At first, she tried to breathe through it, remembering Dr. Evans's advice, but within minutes, the pain intensified and became more frequent. Instinctively, she reached for her phone to call Michael, only to recall that earlier in the day, he had texted her he was flying to Los Angeles for an urgent business deal. She tried calling him anyway. No answer. She tried again. Voicemail. In despair, she dialed her mother, Sarah Miller. A wave of calm relief flooded her momentarily as her mother picked up on the first ring. But the motherly concern in Sarah's tone only amplified Emily's fear. "Emily, I'm coming right now," her mother said. "Your father and I are already on our way. Hold on, darling." It felt like an eternity before the ambulance arrived. Emily was doubled over in pain, sweat pouring down her forehead. The paramedics lifted her onto a stretcher, their voices urgent yet professional. But the ride to Harmony Creek Medical Center was a blur of bright lights and terror. During this entire chaos, Emily's phone remained stubbornly silent. She wanted to scream at Michael's absence, to curse him for abandoning her at her most vulnerable moment. Yet, all she could do was clutch her belly, praying for the safety of her unborn child. Upon arriving at the hospital, Emily was rushed into the maternity ward. Nurses and doctors bustled around her, hooking her up to monitors. Dr. Evans's face appeared, her expression both reassuring and grave. "Emily, you're in preterm labor," she announced gently. "We'll do everything we can to ensure both you and the baby are safe." As the contractions intensified, Emily felt a rush of warmth. Her water had broken. Fear seized her. She was not ready, physically or emotionally. She needed her husband by her side, encouraging her, reassuring her. But as the minutes ticked by, it became clear that Michael was neither present nor reachable. An hour into her labor, Emily felt an almost surreal calm come over her, as if her body had taken over. She shut her eyes, focusing on the breathing techniques she had practiced. She remembered the birthing classes she had attended alone, after Michael had once again claimed urgent meetings. Determination flared in her. If she was going to bring her child into the world, she would do it fiercely, with or without Michael. A nurse dashed into the room, saying that a woman had arrived, claiming to be her guest. Emily expected her mother, but the nurse's description didn't match Sarah Miller at all. Instead, the nurse described a tall, raven-haired woman in a sleek black coat, Tiffany Hayes. Emily's heart almost stopped. She clenched her jaw, fighting a wave of anger that threatened to engulf her. Why on earth would Tiffany Hayes be here at such a moment? A swirl of questions and confusion clouded Emily's mind. If Michael had told Tiffany about the premature labor, why wasn't he here himself? Then, to everyone's shock, Tiffany strode into the room, ignoring the disapproving looks from the medical staff. Her face was a picture of feigned concern. She tried to say something, but before she could speak, Sarah and John Miller appeared behind her, their expressions a mix of outrage and bewilderment. The tension in the small hospital room was palpable, but Emily was beyond words. Another contraction seized her, sending her into a vortex of pain. Dr. Evans ordered Tiffany and anyone who wasn't immediate family to step out. Sarah approached, taking Emily's hand in hers. The paternal strength in John's face was unwavering as he stood on the other side of the bed. They offered comfort while the medical staff prepared for an urgent delivery. Amid the chaos, nurses shouting vital stats. Dr. Evans guiding Emily to push a chilling realization settled in Emily's mind. She was truly alone in her marriage. The father of her child had abandoned her, and his mistress was present when he was not. The minutes felt like hours as Emily battled through her contractions, each pushed toward her, both physically and emotionally. She could hear her mother's soothing whispers, her father's firm yet gentle encouragement. Dr. Evans repeatedly reassured her that the baby's heartbeat was strong, that everything would be okay. But Emily was haunted by the vision of Tiffany's face the gall, the cruelty of that woman showing up unannounced, offering some twisted form of support. At last, after what seemed like an endless ordeal, a high-pitched cry filled the room. Emily exhaled, a sobi ofihiliev, as a nurse announced, "It's a boy." She caught a glimpse of tiny arms and legs, a swirl of newborn energy wrapped in pastel hospital blankets. Despite the heartbreak, a rush of love and gratitude flooded her. For that singular moment, everything else vanished, but reality intruded quickly. The baby was whisked away to be checked by the neonatal team because he was a bit premature. Dr. Evans assured Emily that they just wanted to make sure the baby's lungs were functioning well. Given his early arrival, exhausted, Emily collapsed against the pillows, tears trailing down her cheeks as she whispered her baby's name for the first time. "Liam, my sweet Liam." Sarah pressed a kiss to Emily's forehead. "He's going to be fine, my love." John Miller nodded, his eyes moist with grandfatherly pride. Emily felt safe in their presence, at least for a fleeting second. Then, with a jolt, Emily remembered Tiffany. She looked toward the door, where a nurse was having a hushed conversation with the intruder. Tiffany seemed agitated, gesturing as though demanding something. It was surreal. The woman who had an affair with Michael was here, while Michael himself was absent. Pushing herself to sit up, Emily locked eyes with her mother. "Mom, I need to know why she's here," she said, her voice quivering. Sarah frowned, but nodded in understanding. John, sensing his daughter's turmoil, quickly stepped out to confront Tiffany. "Moments latte." John returned, his face tinged with disgust. "She says Michael asked her to come. He's off in Los Angeles. Tiffany claims he couldn't get a flight back in time, and he insisted someone be here to take care of you." His voice turned bitter at the last phrase. Emily let out a harsh, exhausted laugh. "She's here to take care of me?" she repeated sarcastically, feeling the sting of betrayal in every syllable. Where was this concern when he was lying to me for months? Sarah looked torn between comfort and outrage. "Emily, focus on your recovery. We'll handle this." Emily nodded weakly, but she felt a flash of anger fueling her. summoning what little strength she had left. She asked a passing nurse to request Tiffany's presence. The nurse looked uncertain but complied. Within moments, Tiffany entered, her posture oddly composed, her designer coat spotless despite the tension. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke. "Why are you here? Tiffany? Really?" Tiffany opened her mouth, but no immediate words formed. Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for an exit. Finally, she managed, "Michael called me when he heard you were in labor. He couldn't get away from his business meeting in time." Emily stared at Tiffany, stunned by the audacity of that statement. The mention of "couldn't get away" made her entire being quake with anger. "So, you're the stand-in?" she asked, her tone icy. "I see. My husband's mistress arrives to support me while I give birth to his child." Tiffany looked flustered. "I just wanted to help." "You have no place here," Sarah interrupted, her voice trembling with controlled fury. "Emily's just given birth, and you are a source of distress. Leave." Tiffany's face hardened, as if a mask of courtesy had fallen away. "Michael isn't a monster. You know," she said softly, almost in defiance. "He just felt trapped." Trapped? The word echoed in Emily's mind. Was that how Michael had come to view their marriage? Their child? A prison cell from which he sought escape through another woman? Sarah's anger flared. "Get out, before I call security." Without another word, Tiffany turned on her heel and left, high heels clicking against the linoleum floor. Silence settled in the room, broken only by the hum of medical machinery. Emily's fists clenched around the bedsheets. She fought back tears, not wanting to appear weak. But the enormity of her husband's betrayal was almost too much to bear. She had done nothing but love Michael, trust him, and devote herself to building a life with him. And in her moment of greatest vulnerability, he couldn't even be bothered to show up. Instead, he sent the very woman who had stolen his affections. Holding on to her mother's hand, Emily closed her eyes. Let them see her tears. Let them see her heartbreak. Because from this moment forward, something in her had changed forever. Emily spent the following days recovering in the hospital. Baby Liam was placed in the neonatal unit for precautionary observation, though doctors reassured her he was healthy enough to go home soon. Each day, Emily visited Liam, pressing kisses to his tiny forehead, whispering promises that they would weather the storm together. Sarah and John Miller remained by her side, bringing fresh clothes and homemade meals. Aunt Carol flew in from Nashville, her vivacious warmth balancing the cold sense of betrayal lingering in the air. Michael was notably absent. Instead, Emily received a single text message from him. "Sorry I couldn't make it. Hope you and the baby are okay." No calls, no personal visit, no apology worthy of the pain he had caused. Anger and humiliation consumed Emily. She began avoiding calls from acquaintances who knew she was due to give birth. Rumors were swirling. People whispered that Michael Davis, the powerful millionaire, had left his wife in her most vulnerable hour. Some were sympathetic. Others were vultures craving gossip. Emily found no energy to handle the attention. Tiffany Hayes, too, became an object of swirling gossip. Word spread that she was effectively acting as Michael's personal liaison while he was in Los Angeles, a role that might be more than professional. Olivia Chun, who still worked at Davis Enterprises, provided occasional updates, though Emily never asked for them. According to Olivia, Michael had grown increasingly brazen about his relationship with Tiffany. Desperate for closure, Emily considered confronting Michael directly once she was discharged from the hospital. But Dr. Evans advised her to focus on her postpartum recovery. Stress could easily lead to complications, affecting both her health and Liam's. So, Emily complied, burying her urges and focusing on her baby. The day she finally brought Liam home was bittersweet. She set up his nursery in one of the mansion's spare bedrooms, a pastel-colored haven stocked with diapers, blankets, and plush toys. But as she tucked Liam into his crib, she couldn't help but notice the emptiness. This was supposed to be a shared moment of joy, with Michael by her side, celebrating the new addition to their family. Instead, she felt like she was occupying a house that no longer felt like a home. That very evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the front doors swung open. Michael stepped inside, suitcase in hand. He found Emily in the living room, holding Liam close. For a moment, he hesitated, as if uncertain how to greet the child he had abandoned. Emily's eyes, her voice thick with unshed tears. "You missed it," she said, each word laced with anger and heartbreak. "You missed the moment your son came into this world." Michael's gaze flickered between Emily and the baby. He seemed momentarily contrite, or at least too stunned to speak. "Work was insane, Emily," he muttered, setting down his suitcase. "I tried to get back in time, but flights were canceled, then delayed. It was all beyond my control." Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to hurl every accusation, every bit of evidence of his affair at him. But a single question escaped her lips. "Then why send Tiffany?" He had no ready answer. His expression turned defensive, and he averted his eyes. "Look, I knew you'd need support, and she was already in town. My parents are traveling in Europe. I felt you shouldn't be alone." "Alone?" The word burned through her. "I wasn't alone," she said firmly. "My parents were there, along with the doctors and nurses. Unlike you." His composure faltered, but he quickly recovered, adopting the tone he used in business negotiations. "Emily, we need to talk about our situation. I understand you're upset, but maybe we can come to an arrangement." "Arrangement?" she echoed, disbelief turning her voice cold. "You mean hush money? A divorce settlement? Or perhaps an open marriage so you can flaunt Tiffany whenever it suits you?" Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Don't be melodramatic," he snapped. "I'm just saying things have changed." "Because I gave birth to your child?" she asked, voice trembling. "Or because you're cheating on me with Tiffany Hayes?" A beat of silence. Michael didn't deny it. He didn't apologize. He simply lowered his head. "Maybe you're right," he said quietly. "I haven't been honest with you." Fury flared in Emily. "Honest? You haven't been human." She wanted to scream, to release all the pent-up heartbreak. Liam stirred in her arms, reminding her she had someone else to think about now. Someone small and vulnerable. She couldn't collapse under the weight of her anger. She had to remain strong. Michael moved as if to touch Liam, but Emily recoiled, turning away. With a huff of frustration, he picked up his suitcase. "I'll give you space," he muttered, heading toward the bedroom they once shared. "We can talk in the morning." He left Emily standing in the living room, tears silently carving paths down her cheeks as she held Liam close. She was done expecting comfort from the man who had broken her heart. All that mattered now was protecting her son from the poison that Michael and his mistress represented. The following morning, Emily woke to the sounds of the staff preparing breakfast downstairs. She had barely slept, Her mind raced through 100 different scenarios of how to proceed. Should she demand a separation? Take Liam and move back with her parents? Sue Michael for custody and child support? Stealing herself? She placed Liam in his bassinet and walked down to the formal dining room. Michael was already seated, sipping black coffee as though this were any ordinary day. He glanced up, looking slightly uncomfortable. "We need to figure out what's best for Liam," Emily began, her voice surprisingly calm. Michael nodded, setting his mug aside. "I agree. He deserves stability, which is why I think you and I should come to a financial arrangement." He paused, eyeing Emily carefully. Emily's stomach churned. "You mean you want me to step aside so you can be with Tiffany?" She said bitterly. "And in return, you'll fund my life and Liam's?" "Don't phrase it like that," Michael said, scowling. "I'm just trying to be practical. I'm willing to provide for you and Liam. I can set up a trust fund that ensures he'll have everything he needs: education, healthcare, property." Emily's jaw clenched. She couldn't believe this was the same man she once adored. "And what about love, Michael? What about being there when he takes his first steps, speaks his first words? Or is that something you'd rather Tiffany handle?" He looked away, unwilling to meet her eyes. "Emily, love is complicated. We had our time. Things change." She felt a stab of pain, as if the final nail had been hammered into the coffin of their marriage. "I see," she whispered. She folded her hands, gathering every ounce of her remaining dignity. "You know, if you had just been honest from the start, if you had admitted you were seeing someone else before I went into labor, maybe we could have handled this differently. But you left me in the hospital, at the mercy of your mistress, while I was giving birth to our son." Michael had the decency to look remorseful, but he said nothing. That silence hurt more than any heated argument could have, because it meant he couldn't muster an apology deep enough or real enough to bridge the gap between them. She stood, her limbs shaking with suppressed rage. "I'll be staying in Liam's nursery for now. Once I've recovered enough, I'll decide what's next. But understand this, Michael, no matter how much money you throw around, you have forfeited the right to call yourself a husband to me." He didn't protest. Perhaps he sensed the finality in her voice. Emily left the dining room, feeling a fleeting sense of victory mixed with profound heartbreak. Over the next week, Michael made several attempts to talk to Emily. Sometimes he dropped by the nursery, trying to bond with Liam. The baby, of course, was too young to recognize or reject him yet. Emily couldn't shake the unease she felt every time Michael leaned over Liam's crib. How could a man who had inflicted such emotional torment on the mother claim paternal rights with a straight face? Tiffany, ironically, stayed away from the mansion. Instead, she contacted Emily through Olivia, suggesting they have a civil discussion. Emily refused, focusing on her recovery and Liam's care. In quiet moments, she found herself replaying the memory of Tiffany strolling into the hospital. Each replay sharpened her resolve to protect Liam from that toxic influence. Meanwhile, Michael's public image was beginning to take a hit. Gossip columns and online forums buzzed with rumors that the powerful CEO had missed his child's birth. Reporters clamored outside Davis Enterprises, hoping for a statement. On social media, Heartless Davis began trending in local circles. Rumors floated that major investors were losing confidence in Michael's leadership, especially after he allowed his personal life to become tabloid fodder. Sensing his empire in jeopardy, Michael attempted damage control. He called a press conference to address rumors about his family, but instead of a heartfelt apology, The speech came off as cold and strategic. He praised Emily as a wonderful woman and acknowledged the birth of his son, but he avoided revealing the nature of his relationship with Tiffany. The public saw through the facade. They wanted sincerity, not more corporate speak. Emily watched the press conference from the nursery, Liam asleep in her arms. She felt a pang of disappointment, but not surprise. Michael was determined to salvage his reputation by any means necessary, even if that meant feigning concern for her and Liam. A few days later, a manila envelope arrived at the mansion, addressed to Emily. Inside, she found preliminary divorce papers. An attached note in Michael's handwriting read, "Let's make this easy on both of us." Easy, as if walking away from their marriage and the life they built could ever be easy. Emily set the papers aside, fury coursing through her veins. If a divorce was inevitable, fine, but she would not be sidelined or bought off. She and her child deserve more. Thus, she reached out to Aunt Carol, who referred her to a high-profile attorney named David Cohen, a longtime friend of the Miller family. David was known for his fierce advocacy on behalf of his clients, and Emily needed someone who wouldn't be intimidated by Michael's wealth. When Emily met David in his tastefully furnished office, she clutched a photograph of Liam in her hand, a reminder of who she was fighting for. David listened intently as she explained the situation, from the affair to Michael's attempt at a hush-money arrangement. "Your case is strong," David said, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. "If Michael is as worried about public image as you say, then he might settle quietly to avoid further scandal. But given his personality type, he could also dig in his heels." Emily nodded, determined. "I don't want to destroy him. I just want to ensure that Liam and I are safe, financially and emotionally." David placed a comforting hand on the table. "We'll get you that. And if Michael wants a fight, we'll be ready." Stepping out of David's office, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer the naive young woman who believed love conquered all. She was a mother now, and she would fight with every breath for her child's well-being. And if that meant going toe-to-toe with Michael Davis, so be it. As legal proceedings began to take shape, Michael's attitude shifted from indifferent to aggressive. One afternoon, after a tense meeting with his corporate lawyers, he stormed into the mansion, slamming doors behind him. He found Emily in the nursery, cradling Liam, who had just fallen asleep. "Why are you doing this?" Michael snarled, his voice low to avoid waking the baby. Emily glared up at him. "You served me divorce papers. Remember? I'm simply protecting my son and myself. You made your choice. Now face the consequences." He clenched his jaw, eyes darting to the sleeping child. "I could fight for full custody," he threatened, crossing his arms. "Don't underestimate my resources. Emily, the courts favor financial stability. I can give Liam everything." She stiffened. "You think you can take my child from me? After what you did, you abandoned us. You're unfit to be a father in the emotional sense, no matter how much money you have." Michael's nostrils flared, but he said nothing further. He stormed out, leaving Emily trembling with a mix of anger and fear. She knew the law could be twisted by powerful men, but she also believed in David Cohen's words. The truth was on her side. 2 days later, an unexpected visitor arrived, Tiffany Hayes. Her impeccable makeup and stylish clothes were in stark contrast to Emily's simple postpartum attire. A chill ran through Emily as the butler announced Tiffany was at the door, requesting an audience for the sake of clearing the air. Emily almost refused. but a strange sense of curiosity and a simmering need for confrontation pushed her to accept. She led Tiffany into the living room, away from the nursery, mindful not to subject Liam to any more negativity. Tiffany began by trying to appear conciliatory. "Emily, I'm not here to antagonize you. I understand you have every right to be furious." Emily folded her arms. "Then get to the point." A fleeting emotion, perhaps regret, passed over Tiffany's face, but it vanished quickly. "Michael told me he wants this divorce to go smoothly, but you've hired a shark, David Cohen. Michael's lawyers say it'll get messy." Emily smirked. "Messy for him? Maybe. Did he send you here to do his bidding? Or is this your personal crusade?" Tiffany took a measured breath. "I know what you must think of me, but Michael and we fell in love. It happened gradually. I never intended to hurt you." "Stop," Emily hissed, eyes flashing with anger. "You don't get to claim innocence while betraying another woman. You paraded into my hospital room the day I gave birth. How much more hurtful could you be?" Tiffany's expression hardened. "Fine, I won't pretend anymore. Micah Schuzma, you can hate me all you want, but that won't change the outcome." Emily's voice trembled with fury. "And what outcome is that?" "That he and I will build a life together once your marriage is dissolved," Tiffany said, raising her chin defiantly. "He wants joint custody of Liam, and I'm prepared to help him fight for it." A wave of nausea swept over Emily. She imagined her precious baby living under the same roof as Tiffany. The thought was unbearable. Yet, Emily refused to crumble. She stood tall, meeting Tiffany's gaze head-on. "We'll see what the courts decide," she said coldly. "Now, get out of my home." Tiffany flashed a smirk, as if anticipating a victory. She rose and headed for the door, pausing only to deliver a final barb. "Michael will have everything he wants. Emily, you might as well accept it." Emily didn't respond. She watched Tiffany leave, a singular resolve solidifying within her. No matter what it took, she would never let them tear Liam away from her. As anticipated, the divorce proceedings became a high-profile spectacle. Paparazzi swarmed the courthouse steps, and tabloids ran sensational headlines. Millionaire Michael Davis locked in custody battle, and scorned wife takes on CEO. Emily's first day in court was a whirlwind. David Cohen presented evidence of Michael's extramarital affair, including the receipt for the engraved bracelet. He also highlighted Michael's absence during the birth of his son, an abandonment that showcased a disturbing lack of paternal concern. Michael's legal team tried to spin the narrative, painting Emily as emotionally unstable and ill-equipped to raise Liam independently. They argued Michael's wealth provided a superior environment for the child's development. The tension was palpable, with cameras flashing every time either party exited the courtroom. Throughout the trial, Emily maintained a stoic composure, bolstered by David's counsel. She refused to let Michael's venomous tactics break her. Meanwhile, Michael, seated alongside Tiffany in the gallery, showed little remorse for the heartbreak he'd caused. On the final day of the custody hearing, Emily took the stand. She recounted how Michael had disappeared during her labor, sending Tiffany in his stead. She spoke of her devotion to Liam, her stable extended family, and her plan to raise him in a nurturing environment. She concluded with a pointed remark, her voice trembling with genuine emotion. "I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for Liam's right to have a loving, present parent." When Michael took the stand, he attempted to appear contrite but came off as rehearsed. He blamed business obligations for his absence, emphasizing that any father in a demanding career might miss important family moments. The presiding judge, a sharp-eyed woman named Susan Wright, asked pointed questions about Michael's extramarital relationship and whether it overshadowed his responsibilities as a husband and father. His evasive answers didn't seem to impress her. At the end, Judge Wright announced she would take all evidence under advisement before issuing a ruling. Tension gripped everyone as they waited for her decision. In the days leading up to Judge Wright's ruling, Emily found herself overwhelmed by worry. She knew Michael's legal team might still manipulate the situation. Each time she looked at Liam's innocent face, fear stabbed her heart. What if the judge granted Michael joint custody? Could she stomach sending her baby off to live part-time with Tiffany? Just when hope seemed dim, an unexpected visitor arrived at Emily's temporary apartment. She had moved out of the mansion for her own peace of mind. The doorman announced a Mr. Robert Bob Green, a top executive from Davis Enterprises. Emily had never met him personally, though she knew of his reputation as Michael's right-hand man. Curious and wary, Emily allowed Robert inside. He was a tall, middle-aged man with kind eyes and a nervous demeanor. After a few pleasantries, he confessed why he was there. "I worked with Michael for almost a decade," Robert began, clearing his throat. "Lately, he's changed. His affair with Tiffany is just one symptom of bigger issues. He's become reckless, uncaring about the harm he causes." Emily studied him, still cautious. "Why tell me this?" Robert sighed. "I've come across documents that prove Michael engaged in some questionable business practices. If these get out, he'll be under immense scrutiny from regulators. It would torpedo his attempts to prove he's a fit parent." A swirl of emotions flooded Emily. She didn't want to blackmail Michael, nor did she want to stoop to his level of ruthless scheming. But she couldn't ignore that Robert's revelations might be the key to securing Liam's future. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. Robert hesitated. "Because I've seen how good you were for Michael when you two first married. You humanized him. I'm ashamed to be part of a company that condones his behavior now. And I believe Liam deserves better." Emily nodded, tears prickling her eyes. She didn't want to rely on shady documents to win her case. But she also had to protect Liam. "Send them to David Cohen," she said quietly. "Let him decide if they're necessary for our defense." Robert nodded and left as quietly as he had come, leaving Emily with a renewed sense of possibility. She prayed they wouldn't have to resort to dirty tactics. Yet in her darkest moments, she conceded that sometimes, to fight monsters, one must wield the very weapons they fear most. Finally, the day arrived when Judge Susan Wright would issue her ruling. The courtroom was packed with reporters, onlookers, and supporters from both sides. Emily, dressed in a modest navy blue suit, clutched a photograph of Liam in her hand. Michael entered with Tiffany at his side, exuding an air of confidence. He glanced briefly at Emily, but she saw no warmth in his eyes. Judge Wright addressed the court, recounting the key points of the custody case. She criticized Michael's absences, his affair, and his blatant disregard for Emily's well-being during childbirth. She also acknowledged his ability to provide financially for Liam. When she spoke the final words, Emily's heart hammered against her chest. "It is the judgment of this court that physical custody of the minor child shall remain solely with his mother, Emily Carter Davis. Michael Davis shall be granted supervised visitation until such time as he can demonstrate a consistent interest in the child's welfare. Stunned silence filled the courtroom. Emily closed her eyes, exhaling a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She had won. Liam was safe. Michael stood, fuming. "Supervised visitation?" he exclaimed, outraged. Judge Wright leveled him with a calm stare. "Your repeated absences and questionable behavior have demonstrated a lack of paternal commitment. This is the best outcome for Liam. If you truly care for your son, Mr. Davis, prove it by showing up and acting like a father." Tiffany tugged on Michael's arm, urging him to calm down. But her presence only fueled the tabloids' cameras. They captured the anger etched into Michael's face, the dismay on Tiffany's. Meanwhile, Emily tried to contain her relief, tears slipping from her eyes. Later, outside the courthouse, reporters rushed forward, thrusting microphones toward Emily. She mustered a polite statement. "I'm grateful to the court for recognizing what's best for my son. I hope we can all move forward with respect for Liam's well-being." With that, she walked away from the throng of flashing cameras, baby Liam's future secure in her arms. Her parents and Aunt Carol greeted her with open arms, tears of joy in their eyes. But the story was not entirely over. After the ruling, Michael faced mounting pressure regarding his business practices. It turned out the documents Robert Greene had leaked to David were already under investigation by the authorities. Davis Enterprises was forced to scale back some of its more aggressive expansions. Michael's iron grip on the company began to loosen. Tiffany, sensing the downturn, distanced herself from the scandal. Rumors circulated that she was considering leaving Michael for greener pastures. The so-called love they shared frayed under the weight of legal battles and public scrutiny. In the end, Michael found himself largely alone, left to reflect on how his pursuit of power and pleasure cost him a family he never truly appreciated. Months later, Emily and Liam were thriving in a cozy home near Harmony Creek. Sarah and John Miller visited often, showering their grandson with love. Aunt Carol popped in whenever she was in town, bringing fresh flowers from her travels and reading stories to Liam. Emily maintained a cordial but limited relationship with Michael, primarily through scheduled, supervised visits. To her surprise, Michael showed small signs of genuine remorse. He arrived promptly for each visit, displaying awkward attempts at fatherly affection. Whether this signaled a deeper transformation or was just an act, Emily couldn't be sure. She remained vigilant, placing Liam's well-being above all else. Through therapy, meditation, and the unwavering support of her family, Emily healed from the emotional wounds of betrayal. She also resumed her philanthropic work, expanding her Aunt Miller Foundation to focus on providing resources for single parents. The heartbreak she endured became a source of empathy, fueling her mission to support others. As for Tiffany Hayes, she faded into the background, remembered only as the mistress who tried and failed to break a mother's spirit. In the end, it was Emily's unwavering devotion to her child that triumphed over all obstacles. And in that victory, she found the strength to forge a brighter future, free from the shadows of Michael's betrayal. Thank you for staying with us through this roller coaster of heartbreak and hope, betrayal and resilience. Emily Carter's journey is a powerful reminder that not even the cold, hard grasp of wealth can stifle a mother's unwavering love for her child. From an opulent mansion to a high-stakes courtroom, Emily fought with every fiber of her being to secure a safe, loving future for baby Liam, proving that sometimes the greatest riches we can possess are courage, integrity, and the power to stand our ground. If you're moved by Emily's story, or if you know someone who might find inspiration in her perseverance, please show your support. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with friends and family who appreciate real-life drama and fiction. And most importantly, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By joining our community, you'll be the first to know when we release more tales of empowerment, scandal, and redemption. Your engagement truly makes all the difference. Stay tuned for more dramatic storytelling adventures coming your way soon.